What a finish. Jayden Daniels saves the Washington Commanders on a last-minute Hail Mary pass to steal a victory against his fellow rookie counterpart, Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. The Washington Commanders hosted the Chicago Bears in a duel between the top two picks in this past draft, and Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears offense was completely grounded despite having 2 weeks to game plan and build off of the fantastic win against the Jacksonville Jaguars 2 weeks ago. Remember that Jayden Daniels was coming into this game with a rib injury that he sustained last week against the Carolina Panthers. And despite all these things working against the Commanders' favor, they honestly dominated for much of this game. Leading 12-0 heading into the final frames of the third quarter, this was only when the Chicago offense finally woke up. DeAndre Swift took a long rushing touchdown to cut the lead to 5, and we headed into the final frame of the Bears-Commanders with the Bears having a chance to go ahead with a touchdown, but instead they decide to call back their 85 Bears days. And I don't know what's with this town and just harping with one Super Bowl championship and all-time great team. Yes, but the references, the refrigerator, the monsters of the Midway, it just gotta stop, because they try to get too cute, trying to have a backup center take it in for a big man touchdown, but he fumbles. Washington recovers and it takes off a scoring opportunity off the board. And with that, the Bears get another opportunity, thankfully, and this time they convert, go 15-12 with 25 seconds left in the game. But this is when all hell breaks loose in Landover, Maryland. Jayden Daniels leads the Commanders with a couple of chunk plays, and these were both given up pretty easily by Matt Eberflus' defense. And on the final play, we're already having Tyreek Stevenson kind of mouth off at the Commanders fans, which we'll get into very soon, but he's not paying attention. Play goes off, his back is turned to the offense, and then he finally gets into the play as Jayden Daniels is running every which way and finally chucks a pass with a lot of arc on it, and Stevenson knocks the ball up into the air instead of knocking it down, and it's into the waiting arms of Noah Brown. Walk-off touchdown, and probably one of the most epic finishes I've seen in recent NFL history. This was really of epic proportions, and what a win for the Commanders, and what a heartbreaking loss for the Chicago Bears, because looking into the mistakes that they made, these come to fundamental mistakes made by Matt Eberflus and his staff, and not having his players set up for success, and really a lot of breakdowns. Firstly, let's talk about the trick play with the big man touchdown. They were trying to be too cute at the goal line. I thought that this was a terrible play call. Bad decision, but they made up for it later. Well, on the final drive, there was a lot of mistakes made by Matt Eberflus and his staff, where firstly, you're giving up a couple of chunk plays way too easily. You should play coverage, because honestly, with 25 seconds, you never know if Washington is trying to play for a field goal. They still have an opportunity to tie this and send it into overtime. Their kicker has a pretty good leg. Who knows? Well, they play very deep, and they give up 2 chunk plays that get them to about midfield in about 10 seconds. And the second one was very bad, because I just thought that you could have funneled Terry McLaurin in and then have them run out of time, because you want to protect the sidelines at this point. That's an extra defender that you have in your disposal, but you're like, nah, you can take the 13 yards, Terry, it's fine. We don't really care. You're not going to score on us anyways. It's impossible. And they also had 3 timeouts. Matt Eberflus could have taken some time each play. Hey, let's cool it. They still have to go to full length of the field. Let's get our defense aligned. Let's get everybody known on what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do, knock the ball down. Basic kind of last minute fundamentals of setting up your defense to close out a victory. You've seen so many times just before the ball's about to be snapped, that coach is running up, call timeout, because somebody's over there mouthing off at the fans. And I mean, Caleb was trying to get that going, but it seems that nobody on the Chicago Bears staff was aware that Tyreek Stevenson is not even paying attention on the game's final couple of plays. And in that process, again, the timeouts are bad, but you don't coach how to execute a final Hail Mary where it's one thing to knock the ball up, but then Kevin Byard loses Noah Brown altogether. He's supposed to be between Noah Brown and the ball at all times. And for whatever reason, he loses containment of Noah Brown because he's trying to go after the ball, and that tips the ball up. There's nobody there. If he sticks with Noah Brown, that he can take him out because the ball's already been tipped. He can tackle him, he can slam him to the ground, whatever it is. They're not going to be able to call anything. There's no PI after a ball has already been tipped. This goes into executing and stopping a Hail Mary before it even gets started. The other aspect is that why not rush 5 instead of rushing only 3 and deploying a spy? Because at this point, how many guys do you need to cover a Hail Mary at this point? You have 2 safeties, some cornerbacks, and if you want, you have a big guy out there. Get one of your biggest wide receivers there to knock the ball down as well. We've seen Julio Jones do it in the past with the Atlanta Falcons. Why not have DJ Moore out there? Something like that. With rushing 3 and having a spy, are you just thinking that Jayden is going to escape that and go all the way down the field 50 yards for a scramble touchdown? I mean, that's impossible. Just go back a week ago between the Lions and the Vikings, because in that sequence, they swallowed up Sam Darnold and they didn't even get a pass off to even attempt a Hail Mary. So if you rush 5, sit the guys back in coverage, I think you get the job done either way, because they're just outmanned. Offensive linemen at that point were tired, they don't have enough juice. And the other final appalling thing is no timeouts and then no Montez Sweat on the field. Montez Sweat wasn't on the field on the last play of the game. If you call a timeout, noticing Stevenson mouthing off, noticing the defense isn't really aligned, noticing that Montez Sweat, your best defender, isn't on the field, is a very, very bad miscue by Matt Eberflus. And I have not been the biggest fan of Matt Eberflus since joining the Chicago Bears. I thought with last year, with them shipping out Justin Fields, I thought that made sense. Take out Matt Eberflus as well. 2 seasons, he's compiled a 10-24 record. And the first season was 3-14, the second one was 7-10 with an 0-3 start. This guy hangs his hat on defense, and these defensive miscues from no Montez Sweat to the lack of timeouts, in not disciplining Tyreek Stevenson, not having Kevin Byard on the last play of the game attached to Noah Brown to prevent the ricochet catch. These are all coming back to Matt Eberflus. He's the guy that's the defensive-minded head coach. And to pair that with Caleb Williams when you had an opportunity to go out and get one of these hotshot offensive guys, because now if somehow they don't make the postseason, then you waste a year of Caleb Williams and this team with a defensive-minded head coach when you could have gotten an offensive-minded head coach. So they're 4-3. This is not the end of the world, but it certainly is a heartbreaking loss. And now the season kind of hangs in the balance because they might be able to right the ship short term, but I'm just going to be always walking on eggshells thinking, what is the next gaffe for Matt Eberflus and the Chicago Bears to blow a late game lead like we saw on Sunday against the Commanders?